extend a céad míle fáilte to all of you who have gathered here this evening for this celebration of St. Michael's Villas and our neighbourhood. And I want to welcome everybody who is here, and especially people who have made the effort to travel some distance to be here this evening. Your presence at our celebration is deeply appreciated. It's a typical St. Michael's gathering with most of the flock under the galleries. And I suppose that's a creature of habit from the way we were reared as young people where we came from this side of the town. We gather this evening for our celebrations in a very special way, and it's appropriate, I suppose, at the beginning to come here to the cathedral to remember our loved ones, the founding fathers and mothers of St. Michael's Villas, our brothers and sisters, neighbours and friends who built the community that we are all proud to call ourselves a St. Michael's person. And at the beginning of our celebration this evening, we want to honour their memory, and this is the purpose of this gathering at the beginning of the night, is to honour the memory of our loved ones. And in front of the altar there are, I think, 108 candles, and they represent the families who have died in St. Michael's Villas over the last 62 years.
A reading from the Acts of the Apostles. The whole group of believers was united, heart and soul. No one claimed for his own use anything that he had, as everything they owned was held in common. The apostles continued to testify to the resurrection of the Lord Jesus with great power, and they were all given great respect. None of their members was ever in want, as all those who owned land or houses would sell them and bring the money from them to present it to the apostles. It was then distributed to any members who might be in need. The word of the Lord.
50 years ago, Brother Martin O'Flaherty left St. Michael's to become a Christian brother, but he has never lost contact with his hometown, with his parish and with his native land. So tonight, Martin, I'll invite you to share the few words with us.
Looking back and remembering those residents who first came to live in St. Michael's over 60 years ago has been a very personal journey for me. When I was asked to do it, I thought it would be a simple task. But I was brought up, as you know, and lived in St. Michael's, so the Villas is personal to me. It is good for us to remember that our parents were probably the first generation of working class people who could have hoped to have a house of their own that was new, that was modern, and that was of high standard. Imagine their sense of joy at being told they were on the housing list, and then imagine them getting the key to the door and coming and seeing their house for the first time, and then finally meeting their neighbours.
I'd like to begin by thanking Father Tom Ryan for celebrating Mass for the deceased members of St. Michael's Villas, and to thank him and all involved in making it a memorable ceremony. I would like to welcome the Mayor of Ennis Municipal District, Councillor Johnny Flynn, to thank him for joining us this evening and for his continued support for Clare Root Society. Welcome also to Paddy Waldron, Chairman of Clare Root Society. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Paddy for his leadership throughout the year. A very special welcome to Cora McNulty and to the McNulty and Hassey families, to their neighbours and friends. You're all very welcome. We are delighted to see such a large gathering. It is unquestionably an indication of a strong, loyal and supportive community. A community with a pride of place and a community in solidarity with their neighbours and with Cora McNulty. This is the 23rd publication from Clare Root Society. We are indebted to Cora and other members of the Clare Roots Society who have put pen to paper to record the history of their own place. In doing so, we have an invaluable record, a history covering many areas of our town and the people associated with these areas. It is the intention of Clare Roots Society to continue with this work. Further books recounting the history of other areas of the town are in the pipeline and will be published at a later date. Eventually, we will have a complete and comprehensive history of every area of Ennis. We are also concentrating on expanding this to other areas throughout the county. Tonight's book launch, St. Michael's Village, A History and Miscellany, is a valuable addition to our previous publications. It is a miscellany of memories, a miscellany of nostalgia, a treasure today, and most definitely a treasure for future generations. Cora, we thank you for accepting the challenge to compile the history of St. Michael's Village. To write about your own place, the place of your youth. When approached, you undertook the assignment with enthusiasm and passion. We thank you for your dedication and your long hours of research in gathering stories, and your resolve to include every family. You sat and reminisced with them to relive family events, community events and sporting occasions. To remember and recall family members no longer with us. The many people who contributed to building St. Michael's into a vibrant community, a community that grew over time, provided support for each other and promoted lifelong friendships. The residents of St. Michael's participated actively in the social, economic, cultural, political and sporting life of our town. It is important that their contribution is not forgotten, and in writing this book, you have ensured they will be remembered. Congratulations, Cora. Thank you and well done. I would now like to call on the Chairman of Clare Roots Society, Mr. Paddy Waldron, to say a few words.
Thank you, John. I hope you can all hear me down the back there. I got instructions on what not to say and words not to use here, so I'm limited in what I can say. But I suppose I should begin, like everyone, by congratulating Cora McNulty, who has compiled this book, has done a wonderful job, has brought out the great community spirit that there is in St. Michael's Villas. I somehow wonder whether the new estates that have been built in the Celtic Tiger era will have that same community spirit and will produce a turnout and a book like this in 50 or 60 years' time. I'm only the chairperson. There's a great committee behind me that does all the work, who I want to thank. We've already heard from John Bradley, who's our PRO. Larry Brennan, who's lurking down there somewhere, is the man who does all the work, recruits the people to do the books, lobbies the county councillors and the tidy towns to whom we owe a great debt of gratitude for their financial support, and does an awful lot more work. Our secretary, Clara, our treasurer, Dolores Murray, and Bernie Brennan are out there selling books, and there's a whole big committee behind it. And I want to particularly thank the Mayor. This is about the fourth time during his year of office, which is nearly up now, that he's come to launch one of our books. This is the 23rd book that Clare Roots Society has produced, if I've counted correctly, and there are several more in the pipeline, and we're hoping to move out from Ennis and cover other parts of the county in the years to come. You can buy all the old books outside, or if you haven't got money with you tonight, you can go to our website, clareroots.org, and order them via PayPal on the website. Those that are not out of print and already collector's items. And I think the St. Michael's Villas book might already be a collector's item after tonight, judging by the size of the turnout here. I'd also like to encourage you to join the Clare Roots Society. We're coming up to our 10th anniversary. We're planning a major genealogy conference for September of next year, to mark that 10th anniversary with a slate of international speakers. We'll be announcing the details soon. So I hope you'll encourage anybody with an interest in Clare and Ennis and genealogy to come here next September for that. I read the book in draft form a few weeks ago. Fascinating to see the amount of detail gathered. And it's not just a book about Ennis, because the people of St Michael's Villas came from all around the county and around the rest of the country. My own roots are west of Kilrush, and I saw at least one family that came from Kilrush, whose Kilrush cousins I know. And then we have people of national renown. We all listened to Kieran Hanrahan on the radio on a Saturday night. I'm sure listened to Stockton's Wings for many years. I was surprised to see Brandon O'Hare, a famous Irish writer, having a connection in St Michael's Villas. And everybody who has lived there has made their own mark in society, whether at national or local level. So I think that's really all I want to say. Thank you all for turning out tonight, huge turnout, and for buying the book. And I'll hand back to John Bradley, who will introduce the Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Paddy. I would now like to ask Father Tom Ryan, if he's there someplace, to come and tell us of his experience in growing up in St Michael's Villas. Is he around someplace? He's there. Yes.
Like all who have gone before me in the speakers this evening, just to begin by congratulating Cora, because without her we would not be here tonight. And the way she was able to get so many people who, when she asked, volunteer to help her in so many ways, and that's a tribute to her skills, but it's also a tribute to the place where we call home. And for me, St Michael's has always been my home. I was born in the county hospital, but reared in St Michael's all my life. And I was fortunate when my mother died, she left me the house, and people said to me, why don't you sell it? And I said, well, then where will I go? And also, I do plan when I retire to come back to St Michael's and to finish my days there. And the reason I do that is, even just take the location. And people ask me about it, and I say, you have the supermarket down the road, you have the petrol station at the other side, you have the post office, you're 5 minutes walk from the town. In 11 years' time, I'm looking forward to free travel, and you have the station down on the road, and you have everything that anybody would need in retirement years in St Michael's and its location. They're also a very good quality house build, and they have stood the test of time over the last 62 years. And again, that's the tribute, I suppose, to those who went before us, to the builders and to the people who have maintained them and kept them over the years. The community that Martin spoke about at Mass this evening is what's important. And we're a diverse group of people. There's been 76 homes, but there's also been, I suppose, the neighbours in College Park, in Castlewood Park, Ardnagrania, Flannan's Terrace, Connolly Villas, all around us. And we're all part of that community. And we're all respected for who we are. And we have all made our contribution to the world, thanks to being in the place that we call home. And it is so very important. Another part of what catches me, from tonight and from the publication of this book, the phrase, the dogs in the street, takes on a whole new meaning now, because even in St Michael's Villas, the dogs are valued and appreciated and known by their surname as much as by their first name. And, you know, I remember, Cora, you ringing me and you said, can you tell me the name of Liddy's dog? And I could. Agnes, can you tell? No, Agnes couldn't, you see, but Darky Liddy. But it wasn't Darky, it was Darky Liddy. And I was able to, you know, immediately come to mind, because that was part and parcel of who we were. But tonight is a night for celebration. There's a lot to be said, but I'm just proud to be a St Michael's person, and I'm very happy to say where I came from and the people who I grew up with and who formed me and who shaped me. And it's an opportunity to say thank you to so many of you here tonight who shaped the type of person that I am, and I'm sure anyone else who'll be asked to speak from St Michael's will say the same. But tonight is a night to acknowledge Cora and the many people who have helped her, but also, can I also say a word of thanks, and I wouldn't get the opportunity too often, to the Clare Roots Society. It's an organisation I don't know an awful lot about, too much about, but I have bought all your books up along because they're a valuable treasure in years to come. And while you look at them now, I know it's in years to come that I'll value and appreciate it. So once a dream now becomes a reality, and there's seeds being sown in the work that the Clare Root Society does that's valued and appreciated by the ordinary people of the town of Ennis and of Clare. So to those of you who are involved in the Clare Root Society, thank you for making these occasions possible. It's also the second occasion that we have come together. In 2001 we had our reunion, our 48-year reunion. And some people say, well, why don't you wait until you're 50? But it was those who came up with the idea were right to go with it, because as we know, the advancing years, there were many people by the time 50 came around who weren't there, who were there at 48. And there are many people here tonight, and it's important that we gather as well. So thank you very much to one and all. Congratulations, Cora. Well done, and best wishes for the future.
Thank you, Brendan, for all the time. That's wonderful. Now it gives me great pleasure to invite and call on Cora McNulty to say a few words about her experience.
Fáilte roimh chuig an ócáid speisialta seo. You're all very welcome to this special gathering. The St. Michael's family is very well represented here, so of course that makes it extra special. When I agreed to take on this project, it was for one reason only, and that was to pay tribute to the first settlers of St. Michael's, some of whom happily are here tonight. Post-World War II Ireland was a very difficult place economically, and this continued on into the 1950s. The young couples who arrived to St. Michael's in mid to late 1953 had little by way of material possessions, but they had hope in their hearts, they had great faith and a very strong work ethic. A beautiful community developed from this, and that loyal community shaped us all. We're very privileged to belong to it, and regardless of where we go, we will always belong to it because we carry it here in our hearts. The Brennan brothers, now I mean the real Brennan brothers from Ennis and not Kenmare, have played a big part in the completion of this book. Firstly, Larry, because he made me take on the project. And then Jimmy, the quiet one, for the typesetting and the design of the book, and for tolerating all my requests, which I could convey to him at any time of the day or night when the notion took me. Now, Jimmy has been living, he's here, in St. Michael's Villas for over 25 years, and he's been on a temporary visa for all that time. Now, I think it's high time we granted him full citizenship. There are 3 lifelong friends from St. Michael's who defected to nearby Castlewood Park when they married. They are Eddie O'Loughlin, Jackie Slattery and Paddy Hahasey. They are known as the 3 Amigos, but sometimes I think the 3 Stooges might be a better name for them. But I have to thank the 3 of them for all their help, but mostly for all the laughs. I want to thank Father Jerry Carey very much, and St. Michael's native Pat Shanahan. Now, I also want to thank Flann Heher and Anthony Piggott as well for all their help. I want to acknowledge also the contribution made by Ollie Burns in writing the sports section and researching and writing the sports section of the book. Ollie is a very proud townie, and he's a great asset to Ennis town. He's so generous with his time, his knowledge, and his photo collection. Thank you very much, Ollie. Thanks to my fellow townie John Bradley and Clara Hoyne of the Clare Roots. They're doing amazing work. And so many other people have helped me, but it's not possible to name them here tonight. So I want to say Mila Buekas to all of you. Thank you very much. So can I conclude by saluting the memory and the legacy of the first settlers of St. Michael's, and by wishing all the best to the current residents as they continue the proud history of our beloved St. Michael's Villas. Thank you.
Thank you, Cora, and congratulations again for your fine work. Now, I invite the Mayor of Ennis to formally launch the book. Mr. Johnny Flynn, please.
Thank you very much, John. I'd like to speak about three things, if you wouldn't mind. First, obviously, Clare Roots. Secondly, a little bit about Ennis from the 50s on, and then finally about St. Michael's and Cora McNulty. Cora is the same vintage as myself. When we were talking earlier, she said she's a 57 model, and I was born same time in town, and you're a credit to your community and to the town, Cora. Fantastic. The Clare Roots Society came into Ennis Town Council in 2008. Jerry Kennedy was chairperson at the time, with John, Larry, and looked for financial support from the Town Council to enable an amazing project to progress. The Town Council at the time were unanimously in support of that, and I was delighted to be present on the day to hear the extraordinary plans that Clare Roots had. Councillor Mary Howard is here as well tonight, and if there's any of our colleagues in the audience, apologies if I have left you out, because the Ennis Municipal District is hugely supportive of Clare Roots. And just to kind of set where Clare Roots stand nationally and internationally, if you bear with me, I'll read a piece from one of the top writers in genealogy in the country who wrote about Clare Roots in the Irish Times. After speaking about local genealogical societies and the importance of maintaining stories and conversations about people that we've had the benefit of living with, or that we are genetically connected to, they talk in terms, this man speaks in terms, John Grenham is his name. He said, the single most active local society in Ireland is probably Clare Roots, based in Ennis. Just 9 years old, it has a superb track record. It goes on along explaining everything that Clare Roots does. But it's seen nationally as probably the most important group doing work like this in the country. It goes on to talk about this particular project. A good example of their sheer industry is the My People, My Place, My Heritage project. This takes individual areas of Ennis town and brings together in a single book every conceivable record for the area, property records, school photographs, oral history, urban district council minutes, and in this instance, because it was outside the town boundary, county council. And it's interesting to hear how the residents in St. Michael's had just one post a day, when the residents in Flannan's Terrace had two. It was similar for us in Lifford Road. We were on the workhouse side of Lifford Road, we were in the country. And some of the guys in the audience that I went to school with, in the Holy Family and in the Brothers, I had to play for the country. So I was an urban cowboy at that stage, and Michael's was a village on the edge of town. The end result restores and preserves entire lost dimensions of these places. Just to speak a little bit about Ennis in the time that St. Michael's was formed. It's extraordinary when Brian Dinan, a great local man who talks about the town, says in a particularly good article that he wrote in a book that my father co-wrote a number of pieces. He was involved in local history. Like many other towns in Ireland, Ennis emerged from the 40s, hungry, decrepit, but ever hopeful. The inhabitants of the town were its heart and soul. Back in 1950, there was about 5,800 people living within the town boundary. Within 20 years, it had increased to 10,000. It was a very small town. Michael's was outside the boundaries. There was 470 acres. But in 1988, the town expanded, the boundaries expanded to 3,800 acres. And the population within 25 years had increased by 60% to 17,700. I'm very fortunate and very honoured to be Mayor of the Ennis Municipal District, which covers Ennis and the villages surrounding the town of Ennis. We've pushed the boundary out even further. It incorporates Kilnamona, Kilmaley, Clarecastle, Quinn, Clooney and Bearfield. The equivalent population in 1996 of that area was 19,900 people. It's now 33,010. Those phenomenal population growths are down to areas like St. Michael's. St. Michael's, the men and women of St. Michael's contributed hugely to the town of Ennis and the wider district. I must say I've been honoured to read this book for the last fortnight. I found it very hard to put it down, to read the individual stories. It is an extraordinary piece of work, and Cora, what you have done and the contributors to it have done a fantastic piece of work for the town. What's interesting is that Ennis, as the largest town in Munster, we tend not to take the approach that Americans do, which is you fake it till you make it. So we need to talk ourselves up. And Ennis, as the largest town in Munster, is also the 11th largest city or town in Ireland. And the job of Mary and I and our colleagues is to try and push Ennis forward the same way as the first settlers in St. Michael's contributed to doing so in the 50s. What's extraordinary is that St. Michael's was so close to what was an emerging area of employment. Braids opened in about 1933. There were up to 25 people employed there. My late mother and all her family were reared in the home barracks. They moved across over to Lifford. A lot of people from the home barracks moved into St. Michael's. With the advent of Shannon Airport in the late 40s, Ennis suddenly became a very busy town. Air crews, hostesses and pilots stayed in town. Most people who would be of my parents' vintage would have known about the pilots and the hostesses in the old ground. They had their own lounge upstairs called the Pan Am Lounge. So it became a very cosmopolitan town. With that came tourists who wanted cars to travel around the town. With the improvement of roads, suddenly agriculture came into Ennis, and the Ennis Mart opened close by to St. Michael's. Ennis Mart opened in the late 90s or 1950s, but within 10 years was selling 25,000 cattle per year at a revenue turnover of 1.5 million. Reading this book, there's a lot of residents and a lot of families connected with the railway, with the mart. I was fortunate enough to play with Gardaset against St. Michael's in minor, with Lifford and with Hermitage. St. Michael's was, when I was growing up, I used to wait for the St. Michael's team and all their supporters to walk down along Tulla Road past where I lived for the 3 o'clock match in Our Ladies, and I would follow on and be minded by the people of that area. It was amazing to see the equivalent. I had seen 1966 World Cup, the equivalent of those stars, Ronnie McSweeney. All these people that played for Braids and played for Michael's that are identified here and played for Hermitage, they were my heroes growing up. And there's a lot of them in the room here. Loads of families contributed, particularly to soccer, which was my first love. What's extraordinary about St. Michael's is the stories, and if you bear with me, I promise to finish in a moment. My late grandfather, Tom the Tan McMahon, he got the nickname because he was on the run from the age of 16 from Kerry. He killed a number of black and tans. He was the head of the machinery yard, which was located at the back of the courthouse. There was 15 or 16 steam engines under his control, and the workshop was at the back there. So 1951, spring of 1951, himself and his men started towards St. Michael's for the demolition and the levelling of the fields of 6 families. You had the McNamara's, the Griffins, the Collins, the Gairns and the Cairns, and also McMahon's. There were just under 10 acres purchased at around £4,000 by the County Council. It was £7,500 spent on bringing fresh water up from Clarecastle, and then in total about £100,000 spent on the whole project of 76 houses. An extraordinary return on the investment by the local government when you consider the people that are in the room and the people who are unfortunately not with us. It's a pity that modern local government cannot see to do the same thing. 10 years prior to that, the council spent the same kind of money and built the county hospital. So we need to change how we do business in this country, but I won't go on to that. So it's interesting to read all of the stories, and just to quote one of the contributors, the sharing of everything between everyone. who lived there. Celebrations were shared, stories were shared, even grief was shared. Having read the book and really enjoyed it and laughed and cried during it, been sent for the messages down to Quinns, Griffins and Hannarans, the list being put in the book to be sorted out on the Friday, furniture coming from Ryan's and Abbey Street, the 46s, most people would know them as Connolly Villas, the back cottages, St. Flannan's Terrace, Paddy Sheehan's shop where I bought a single fag while I transferred from the Brothers to Flannan's because they were still teaching through Irish and the Brothers. Thousands of times cycling past the grotto and seeing the beauty of the grotto and the importance of religion and church to the community of St. Michael's. The ragman and the rag and bone man calling, the parcel from America, the go-karts being made from wheels from prams, the flagging of Sidona, lucky bags, the flicks at the Gaiety. My mother worked there in the early 50s with Michael Tierney before she married. The Mayo altar in each house, it was so important in our house. The Boy Scouts, obviously, Paddy Cons, braids, rocking apples. We used to steal them in Mary's. We used to go down to Considine's, I think, down the Crags. Bill O'Brien's well. It's extraordinary reading people Sunday during the summer of walking from St. Michael's out along the rocky road and, you know, the parents relaxing, talking to each other on the rocky while the children played in and out of the crags. The stream that flowed there by the rocky was the exact same water that people subsequently, when they returned home, often drank in Bill O'Brien's well. The crags, obviously, and hazelnuts and blackberries. The grotto, telly and the payphone in Collins is at number 29. A sergeant in a brown bag from Maloney's or Falls. Milk bottles being left at the door and the sound of that. One of the other contributors to the book says, "I know many places have lots of kids, but somehow St. Michael's was different. We were like one big family." It's extraordinary the depth of feeling and community that just comes through the book. Another contributor to the book says that many of the people who established this community are sadly no longer with us, but to stand in the villas, to look around and remember the days of old is a testament to these people. Cora, this book is a testament to those people and you're to be congratulated. And I'm delighted and honoured to be here tonight to formally launch the book and to thank the people, the women, the men, the children of St. Michael's for what you've contributed to our town and county. And the dogs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before we finish, I would like to once again to thank Cora McNulty for her patience, dedication and valuable work in bringing this book to completion. Thanks to Mr. Paddy Waldron of Clarewood Society for his summary. Thanks to the Mayor Johnny Flynn for his words of encouragement and for being with us this evening to launch St. Michael's Villas, a history and miscellany. I would like to thank our sponsors, Ennis Municipal District Committee and Ennis Tidy Towns Committee. We look forward to continued support from our main sponsors. Without their valuable contribution, we would not be in a position to continue with our work. I would like to thank Jimmy Brennan for his work on design and layout. Thanks to our printers, D2 Print. We applaud their work and their experience in this excellent publication. Thanks to Jimmy Brennan also for looking after the slides tonight. And I would like to thank Templegate Hotel management and staff for their attention and their support. I would also like to thank Dolores Murray and Bernie Brennan who are looking after our book sales and have looked after book sales at all our book launches. And they're there in the background and they do tremendous work and we are very grateful for that. I would like to remind everyone this is a limited publication. As it says in the advertisement, when they are gone, they will definitely be gone. I expect it will be sold out within a short time. Thank you for all for attending tonight. Tea, coffee and sandwiches are now available in the adjoining room. Good night and thanks very much.
There's a sailor gone to sea, only he knows how it feels, as he bids a fond farewell to all his kin. As he walks along the shore, to his love he throws a rose, and return again in winter or in spring. We had it all. We had the best of times. We had a life that dreams are made of.
Where the sun melts the sky, a soldier asking why. His eyes, they cannot hide a lonesome tale. There's a photograph of home, smell of sweet perfume, on the words of love forever and a day. We had it all. We had the best of times. We had the life that dreams are made of.
At the station she boards a train, wet with tears and rain, and a father holds a mother's empty hand. All the things you need to know, she whispers as she goes, but I hold forever in my heart.
We had it all. We had the best of times. We had a life that dreams are made of. On an old country lane, where the wilderness still reigns, an old man takes a flower in his hand. I've watched you bloom and fade, at the beauty you create. I'll take with me that pleasure as we part. We had it all. We had the best of times. We had a life that dreams are made of.
Yes,
We had it all. We had the best of times. We had a life that dreams are made of.